Alrighty, Arm Wrestling World, welcome to another Who Takes It episode. Oh man, Arm Wrestling is going off right now. We got King of the Table 3 this weekend coming up, and it is going to be a special match between Poland's Alex Kurdecha and the USA's Dave Chaffee. Ladies and gentlemen, oh my goodness. When we talk about big matches, this is one of the big matches. So as you come in, please start to vote in the poll. I want to know your opinion, who takes it. We're going to talk about what this match means. We're going to talk about the context of the rise of Alex Kurdecha. We're going to talk about that constant just pillar of strength that is Dave Chafee. And of course, we're going to talk about our opinions on where this match is going to go, who's going to take it, what's it going to mean to the world ranking updates, and we're going to do it all right here in the next half an hour or so. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you all come in, I'm just going to make sure I can see you guys in the chat. Good stuff. But, ladies and gentlemen, King of the Table 3 is set to happen this weekend. We are only some 4 days away from what will be an amazing card. But today we are going to be focusing on what is the main event of the day. This is the match that all of us want to see. This is a match that will provide us with a pretty damn significant update in terms of the world rankings. Who's who, who's where, what's going on. It's two giants against each other. It's one that's on the rise. It's one that's been there for a long time. But it is going to be massive stuff this weekend. I can't wait as the people come in. The votes already so far showing a little bit of favoritism towards Alex Kurdecha so far. Early days yet. We're going to let this poll keep going. We're going to start to see what's going on. But 70% of people so far in the live chat voting that Alex Kurdecha will take this match. Now, as I was saying, there is so much to this match. There's so many reasons you should be buying the Core Sports pay-per-view for this one, because this is a big match. In terms of the world rankings, it's very big. Alex Kurdecha, to paint the picture, just let's start on Alex. Alex Kurdecha is one of the men within the world of arm wrestling that people truly, genuinely believe has the opportunity to do the thing that seems impossible. And that's chase down and conquer Levant. Alex Kurdecha has been known to be one of those humans that people actually see it to be possible. And I get it. I totally get why it would seem possible that Alex Kurdecha could catch and one day surpass Levant. He's a massive dude. I had the opportunity to meet Alex Kurdecha in the flesh in Poland in 2019 at the Zloty Tour. And I got to say, Alex Kurdecha is every bit of the giant that you expect him to be. He's every bit of the giant. I actually think he genuinely is a bigger human than Levant. He's taller. I think he's broader. I think he's maybe not deeper in the chest, but he's bigger. He just is a bigger human. Alex Kurdecha is an absolute monstrous man. And I think he's very early days in the sport relative to the other guys that are at the top. And because of that, his upside potential is so seriously significant. Now, guys, as we're all coming in, we're still early days in this live, so I'll wait for a few more of you guys to come in as we talk over a few points. But guys, as you do come in, please vote in the poll who you think will be taking this one. King of the Table 3. Sarah Latona says, I love these fights. Yes, King of the Table 3 is jam-packed with some amazing fights. It's going to be awesome. This one will, of course, be the main event. Alex Kurdecha, of course, was originally due to face Vitaly Letin, but unable to make that match. Dave Chafee has stepped in, and Dave Chafee is a perfect choice. I've wanted to see Alex Kurdecha against Dave Chafee. It's been kind of my dream match. If I had to think of anyone that I could see Alex pull, that was who I wanted to pull. And Dave has been such a pillar of arm wrestling strength for the last sort of 8-year period. Dave was described by John Brzenk as having the most difficult side pressure to deal with out of all the opponents that he ever faced. Dave Chafee has a very unique set of weapons, a very unique tool in the way that in which he goes about doing business. Dave Chafee is one of those guys that just grips on, and if his hand can close and stay closed tight, his back pressure, his side pressure, and his pronation fundamentals are so damn significant. They're so damn strong that there's very few people in the world that can hang with him. And we're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into the technique of what we're expecting to see very shortly. Nightball 12 says, I love Alex and want him to win, but I kind of want Dave to take this. I'd like to think there are still legendary titans that can stop upcomers like Alex. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you 100% on that Nightball 12. I do love Alex Kurdecha too. I think there's so much promise in that man. There's so much to come in his future. He really is somebody who is taking the world of arm wrestling by storm, and he does, I agree, have the potential to potentially one day catch and surpass Levan Saganishvili. He has the body for it. He has the frame for it. He has the potential. He has the drive. He has the intelligence. He has all of those things, does Alex Kurdecha, to do that. But like you said, a legendary titan in Dave Chafee. He is that. He is absolutely a legend of the sport. He is a titan. When you think of styles of arm wrestlers and Dave Chafee comes to mind, you just think strong. You don't think fancy. You don't think fast. You don't think technical. You just think, oh man, that dude's strong. He's always been known as Easy Money Dave Chafee. When we talk about the WAL, his performances there, Dave Chafee has been someone that has been fundamentally just too strong for his opponents. It's always been too easy for him. He just rocks up, gets strapped up, crushes people like Devin, crushes people like Jerry. His losses, excluding his loss to Levan Saganishvili, which we will talk about, all of the losses that Dave Chafee has taken have been very, very questionable, sketchy, really deep, dodgy King's move attempts from opponents. So, yeah, Alex's wrists are the size of my thighs, says Sarah Latona. Yeah, like I said, if you haven't met Alex in the flesh, and you ever get the chance to, you're going to be shocked. I don't know what he possesses. I know Levan has like a 10.5-inch wrist. I do think Alex's wrists are comparable. I think ultimately, potentially, his long-term potential is Alex Kurdecha has a bigger hand and wrist than that of Levan, and his style is something that will threaten Levan. But anyway, we get to see this match unfold this weekend, where, ladies and gentlemen, we're only a couple of days, 4 days, in fact, away from Kurdecha v. Chafee. Now, how I expect this match to go. It will be a 5-round match, of course. We're in King of the Table rules, so we've got running fouls, we've got loose setups, we got refereeing that is not as rigid as a PAL or as a WAF or an IFA or something like that. Now, interestingly, so far, guys, 61% of you have voted that Alex Kurdecha will win, updating that to 59% now. Others of the Dave Chafee fans start to come in, but this match, it's under King of the Table rules, so that is first and foremost one of the considerations that we have to talk about. When we think about how an arm wrestling match will go, and as I like to do, I like to look into the crystal ball and imagine, all right, I try to see it all. Okay, and the rules and the referee is a big factor to that. Bill Collins, as the head referee for King of the Table, we've seen his style. He allows arguments to happen. Bill's last match, where it was Devin and John, Bill did reflect after that match that he wasn't happy with his own performance, that he wanted to be tighter and more strict and rein everything in a little bit more. But at the end of the day, big star athletes, can somewhat bully the referee into just continuing to argue and negotiate a grip. So in this circumstance, given that is the environment of the refereeing and the rule sets are running fouls and all that sort of stuff, we have to ask the question, who does it favor? Who does it favor? And to be honest, this is a live thought I'm thinking. I haven't actually asked myself this question yet, but I'm asking myself this question right now. And when I think about this and I think about the way that this match will come together, these guys are going to step to the table. Dave Chafee wants to be strict. He wants to be in the straps. He wants a really tight strap, because Dave Chafee, at the end of the day, like I said, if he can maintain a fist, if he can maintain great connection in that fist and good, strong, tight strap. If the strap is tight for Dave Chafee, he's in a great position. He can enact that mega back pressure as he rocks over with a side pressure and just keeps that wrist stiff, that he doesn't really need to bend his wrist. He's just happy to be right here and he wants to roll. If he can do that with a very, very tight, very strict, very clean start, Dave Chaffee's going to be happy. He's going to be thinking he's got all the right things that he needs to get this job done. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the vast majority of arm wrestlers are won before the go. Most of the time, I would say almost 90, I'm going to say, picking a random number, 96.5% of the time, I believe the arm wrestlers, both of them, they know who's going to win before the go. Especially at the elite level, when they become ultra aware and they become just really tightly wrapped up in the arm wrestling. They understand what's going on. It's so easy for them to know exactly who is going to win. So I think that Dave Chafee will want a very strict, a very clean, a very tight strap. And I think if he gets that, he'll be in good stead. Now, Alex Kurdecha, I'm not saying that he doesn't want a tight strap. What I'm saying is that Alex Kurdecha doesn't mind if the strap ends up a little loose. And the reason I say that is because Alex Kurdecha loves to pronate and rise. He loves to pivot off that elbow, levering like a crowbar with that massive back pressure. And so a loose strap is going to lend itself more towards the man who's pivoting and rolling and trying to gain the top spot on the hill. Alex Kurdecha is the taller man. Alex Kurdecha is the man with a longer forearm. He's the man with a bigger hand. He's the man that is going to want to ultimately aim for the top of the hill. Now, that's the first question that we ask. When these guys collide, is where does the match go? So the refereeing, all that sort of stuff, I think its tendency to be kind of loose might favor Alex slightly. But Dave Chafee is such a well-behaved gentleman at the arm wrestling table that I think that he will probably just grip up. He'll be no fuss. And I think Alex is also such a nice guy that I don't anticipate him to really be fussing about either. I think this will be an easy refereed match for Bill Collins. I think that the refereeing will just be clean and fast and done. And so therefore, I don't expect anyone really, maybe ever so slightly, Alex, to have favorable conditions there. But at the end of the day, I think it'll be a fairly even respect in that way. So then once the match starts, the running foul side of things, and we get into it, like I said, you're going to see Alex Kurdecha try to bust the wrist back of Dave Chafee. Dave Chafee is going to be making that fist. He's going to be holding on tight, and he's going to be sinking down, and he's going to be looking to just absolutely keep this wrist in the positive direction. If the wrist goes back, Dave Chafee's in trouble. Alex Kurdecha is going to be levering hard, rising. Alex Kurdecha, will he need to be on the defensive side, or will he go straight to the offensive side of Kurdecha? This is an interesting question, because if the strap's tight and Dave Chafee goes sideways, if Dave Chaffee's fingers stay intact and the pronation of Alex Kurdecha gets turned under, then Dave Chafee will win that match. Dave Chafee will just side pressure, pin, and he'll get it. But if Dave Chafee's wrist is being flattened every time he surges, then Dave Chafee's in trouble. Dave Chafee's going to have to go to some new version of Patient Dave, which is rare to see. I mean, how often do you honestly see Patient Dave Chafee? And what I mean by Patient Dave Chafee is Dave Chafee who doesn't move from center. Because let's be honest, when you move from center as a side pressure guy, like Dave Chafee is, it's a risk and reward thing. The reward being victory. The risk being if you fail during your attempts at victory. If you fail at attempts during victory, then your wrist will flatten and your wrist is going to be in trouble. And that is something that Dave Chafee has to consider. If he is patient and he stays at center. So let's say round one, Dave Chafee drives hard. Dave Chafee loses his wrist and loses the round. If that happens, the option and the adjustment for Dave is to stay at center. To stay at center and focus almost exclusively on very tight finger and wrist flexion and very constant back pressure. If he keeps that on and says patience, and when you think about the way Levan Saganishvili defeated Vitaly Laletin in the 2019 top 8, it was very similar to that. Vitaly had the high ground. Vitaly went to roll and put all his effort into side pressure, and Levan just stayed center until Vitaly Laletin's offensive attempts broke down. And once they broke down, then you saw Levan Saganishvili come alive and attack. That is something that we may need to see from Dave Chafee, because the posting pronated pressure from Alex Kurdecha may be so damn significant that Dave can't attack. And that if Dave does attack, his hand and wrist gets flattened. So I think that could be something that we see. Let's talk about what Alex Kurdecha may encounter. If Alex Kurdecha gets turned down into a hook, Dave's going to win. We know that. If Alex Kurdecha and Dave Chafee get stuck at center and there's this battle going on where they're not sure who's going to get it, whatever, does Kurdecha have the ability to retract? Does Kurdecha have the ability to bait Dave Chafee into an offensive mistake? Does he have the ability to make Dave Chafee go too hard too early so he can take control of the wrist? Maybe. I think Alex Kurdecha has the intuition to do those sorts of things. He's just hunting that wrist of Dave. If he gets the wrist back, that's chapter 1 done. Now, Alex Kurdecha, to win the match, there's still more to the story. If we remember back to the way Alex Kurdecha fought Krasomir Kostadinov, or the way Alex Kurdecha fought Kirigali on Garbayev, These matches show us evidence of how Alex Kurdecha behaves when he takes someone's wrist. Now, interestingly, he lost both of those matches. Credit to Alex, he's evolved tremendously since then. I think his strength and conditioning, his efficiency throughout positions has dramatically improved since then. But there is this big factor that Alex Kurdecha, in my observations, after he takes someone's wrist, he still has trouble transitioning to the press. And he still has a difficult time finishing when he's overpronated, if it's in a top roll. So Alex Kurdecha, I've seen him, like I said, against Krasimir Kostadinov and against Kirigalian Garbayev in years gone by, get stuck in that position after he's taken the hand and wrist, stuck and still struggle to finish and ultimately lose a match where the wrist is busted back on the opponent, but they've still had the ability to sit there and wait. A skeptical comes in with a 50 something or other currency super chat. Thank you, man. I'm not sure what the currency is, but thank you, brother. Are you willing to sacrifice your health to be number one? That's an interesting question. For someone like Alex Kurdecha, I don't think he needs to. He is that big already that I don't think he needs to. He is one of those people that just genetically, he's every bit of that size. Alex Kurdecha has walked into the room that size. Alex Kurdecha at 12 years old was probably 120 kilos. Alex Kurdecha is a big dude. I don't think he needs to sacrifice much in himself. Obviously, there is that question. People do push the boundaries and all that sort of stuff. But in this respect, I don't think so. Dave Chafee, he is just one of those titans that has been there. I think that both these guys will be prepared as well as they can be for this event. It's going to be a big event in terms of what it does to the arm wrestling ranks in the world. Of course, Dave Chafee's last match was against the number one guy in the world, Levan Saginashvili. What he did to Dave really did shake Western arm wrestling to its core. It made people say, have a look at the gap between European arm wrestling and Western arm wrestling. Because let's face it, Dave Chafee just got manhandled by Levan Saginashvili. The way Levan just crushed him, Dave couldn't slip. Dave couldn't get access to his hook. Dave was afraid to come forward. Dave just felt instinctively that no, there's nothing there. And Levan, outside of straps, just utterly controlled him. Now, of course, Levan is a monster in every respect, but still, Levan did that. Now, when we think about, we haven't seen Alex against Levan, we haven't seen Alex against Laletin, so we don't know. But this will be a very good indicator of a few things. It's going to, first of all, be a very good indicator of, is Alex Kurdecha now held within the same realm as the Levans and the Latins? If he is, watch out, world. Alex Kurdecha's arrived, and Alex Kurdecha is here, meaning business, and going to do huge things. The other thing it updates is where Dave Chafee is. Dave Chafee, as a titan of the sport, has been very consistent for a long time. A high performer. He's done very well against people like Saplenkov. We never got Dave Chafee was so very close to being considered the number one ranked arm wrestler in the world at one point in time. Roger Cunningham still says all these polls are rigged. If you missed it, the last poll, you know that I beat Roger Cunningham in the best redhead poll. But anyway, moving back to the matter at hand, Alex Kurdecha, Dave Chafee. Dave Chafee is someone that legitimately can beat, you have to say he can beat anyone. With the exception of Levan, Dave, if he gets it in his lane, he is top in class. As John Brzenk described Dave has more awkward side pressure to deal with than anyone. If you get stuck inside the hand of Dave Chafee, his combination of static back pressure and his rotating side pressure really is tremendous. And Dave Chafee, if he gets Alex Kurdecha there, will get the victory. Now, this is going to be a best of 5 round super match. When we start to think about endurance, we start to think about how this plays out. That is a factor that we have to consider. Alex Kurdecha, who is looking for the outside route, if he's cracking the wrist of Dave Chafee, and Dave Chafee is blocking out here, and he's holding, and he's got this bicep strength, and Kurdecha's trying to struggle, it's going to be a really interesting build-up of lactic acid between these two guys. For Alex Kurdecha, if he's overpronated and can't finish, he's going to burn through the bicep and the brachialis, and he's going to actually start to have this really worn-out arm. He's going to start to be thinking about, I need to press earlier, because his bicep will be starting to gas. Now, in Dave Chafee's respect, he's going to be worried about his hand. He's going to be saying, oh my goodness, my fingers. Does Dave Chafee have the ability to block forward. It's been a long time since we've seen any of that. Dave Chafee against people like Jerry Carteret, who are shorter than him, will happily lean forward. But when Dave takes on someone tall, Dave likes to run. Dave likes to take the high ground. And I expect Dave to attempt to fight there once again when he takes on Alex Kurdecha. But will Dave have the ability to come forward? I don't know. But Dave's hand is going to be the thing that's going to be under attack. Alex Kurdecha is going to constantly throw cannons up at the high ground. He's going to be pronating, posting, rolling, even King's moving if Dave is able to drag sideways. Now, that's another possibility where we go with Alex Kurdecha in an open arm top roll with Dave trying to pin. If we remember the way Dave fought Michael Todd and the way he fought Devin Larratt, Dave took center, no dramas, took center, but then couldn't finish. And his wrist is busting back and he's dropping down into a rotating flop hook almost as he's searching for victory and he's just unable to get it. That could be something. I don't know. There's so many factors to this one. In terms of the world ranks at the moment, a lot of people are ranking Kurdecha as number 3 in the world. A lot of people say that it's Levan 1, it's Vitaly 2, it's Kurdecha 3. If you're not in that camp, you've got Levan 1, Devin Larratt 2, Vitaly 3, and Kurdecha 4. And then there's an obscure crowd that has Hermes in that top 4, top 3 as well. But for the most part, Alex Kurdecha is at worst ranked 4 in the world in most people's opinions right now. If he defeats Dave Chafee, that is solidified. If he defeats Dave Chafee, one of the camp that doesn't like Devin Larratt will put Alex most definitely ahead of Devin. The camp that does like Devin will keep it as it is, and Alex will be ranked number 4. If Dave Chafee wins, however, it does throw a bit of a spanner in the works again. It kind of kills a bit of the momentum that Alex has. It reinvigorates the Western world arm wrestling fans, and it elevates Dave back up into that conversation where he's number 4 and Kurdecha just drops to 5. And then people are going to say, let's see Hermes and Dave. There's a whole heap of ramifications that could come from this one if Alex or Dave are to win. But either way, it's going to be pretty damn awesome. Like I said, this is actually one of the matches that I have been wanting to see for a long time. When I got to speak with Alex, I interviewed Alex probably about 2 months ago. This was one of the dream matches that I know he wanted. Alex was very keen on Dave Chafee for all the reasons that are obvious. He gets a legitimate update. We know that Alex is on the rise, but for him to be seen as absolutely 100% undeniably credible as a top 3 guy, beating Dave Chafee is a feather in his cap that he wants, because Dave Chafee has that long-term credibility. Gateway Arms says Kurdecha will sweep. Interesting stuff there, Gateway Arms. And you know, when you look at the polls, 62% of you guys so far that have voted, and please, if you haven't already voted in the polls, guys, head over to that poll right now and vote for me. Let me know who you think is going to take this one. Alex Kurdecha currently at 62%. Dave Chafee, now creeping up a bit, 39%. Dan Kaufman says, this is the biggest match other than Levan Devin that is signed right now. Yeah, this is a big match. This is a big match. This was a match that will headline the King of the Table 3. Happens in 4.5 days' time. It's going to be amazing. All of us are going to be watching for sure. I'm going to be commentating it. Everyone will stop because this match is a big match. It matters. There are levels. Keyless123 says there are levels to this, and he believes that Kurdecha has just stepped into that level. When we talk about the levels, there's clearly the Levan and Vitaly level. Levan slightly above Vitaly level, but they seem to be in a level where we're going to find out very soon at King of the Table 4 with the Devons in that level as well. Dave Chafee has been someone he's in that very next level down. He's not quite in that top level, but he's definitely in the next level. And Kurdecha is somewhere on this warpath at the moment where we all suspect that he's now entered the top level. But this match will confirm that one way or the other. It will absolutely confirm that. Dave versus Kurdecha in a strap match will be interesting. I do believe this one will go to the straps. I cannot see Kurdecha being able to do what Levan did and just simply hold on to Dave. I don't think Kurdecha is that well-rounded. I think Kurdecha has an amazing propensity to be an outside puller. I don't think he has the trust in his elbow yet to simply crush forward and then drag back and deny. I think if he did that, that would risk Dave Chafee getting it into the lane that he wants, and that would be good for Dave and bad for Alex. So I think Alex is still, and this for me is why I don't think Alex is yet ready to beat Vitaly Laletin or ready to beat Levan. Despite the clear and obvious fundamental strength that Alex Kurdecha possesses, there's not yet the work. There's not yet the time under tension that results in the connectivity just stiffening and the integrity of the entire chain becoming mega. That will come in time. Alex Kurdecha is only 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, into the sport. And I think once he gets to the point where he is 7 to 10 years in the sport, the integrity of all of those connections will be there. It'll be complete. And subsequently, what that does for him is that allows transitions. It allows more counterattacking ability to other people's styles. As far as it is right now, if Kurdecha gets forced into a lane like a hook, Kurdecha's going to stick around for a while, but he's not there. He's not there like a Dave Chaffee is. So in time, we will see that. And when that happens, then we can imagine Alex Kurdecha being able to conquer the likes of Vitaly Laletin and Levan Sainashvili. And as I said earlier in the video, I actually think you'll do it. I think you will, but it's going to be 3 to 5 years, I think, before it happens. Dan Kaufman says, has the superweight scene ever been this exciting / deep? It's interesting right now. It is exciting. We've got 4 genuine contenders, 4.5. No, I'm just going to say 4. We've got 4 genuine contenders chasing that number 1 rank in the world. And 2 of these gentlemen, Alex is definitely one of them, and Chafee's that kind of half. He's not really chasing number 1 rank in the world, but he's chasing number 2. I don't think we know that Dave can't beat Levan. Maybe in a million years, I don't think it can. I think Dave Chafee is largely capped out at his best level. I think he'll maintain it. He'll slightly improve over the years, but I don't think we're going to see any drastic improvements from Dave Chafee. But his level is very high. Where we are certain we're going to see drastic improvements in Alex Kurdecha. Oh, all right. So, guys, if you're wondering where this match is going to be happening, of course, you can see it on Core Sports. That's where it's going to be on. I'm going to be live commentating this one as well. So, if you want my commentary of the match, then please dual screen it up, get the Core Sports on, get me live as well. We'll be doing it. But, guys, I'm going to now turn my attention to your comments. I'm going to scroll back through and see what everyone says. If you have any particular comments you want me to read out, let me know. Ryan, is there a limit to how much you can shout and scream at your opponent? That's an interesting one. I've never seen a referee interject for behavioral screaming. Look, these 2 guys here are probably the most well-behaved 2 arm wrestlers we're going to see in a long time. Okay, this is not a Wagner Bortolato Hermes Gasparini's match. That's going to be a screamer. Maybe that's what you guys were thinking about when you asked that question, Cody T. Because that is a fiery match. Bortolato is going to be shaking tables and screaming, and Hermes is going to be giving it straight back to him. But these 2 gentlemen, Kurdecha and Chafee, some of the quietest, most humble, most well-behaved arm wrestlers in the sport. I think they'll be perfectly well-behaved. Let's have a look. All right. Alex can close a 3.5 Captains of Crush. Fantastic. I'm not sure what Dave can close. I know Dave loves the hand and wrist stuff. He's a sledgehammer guy. I would be betting that he can close a hell of a lot as well. But 3.5, very few people in the world doing that. It is a tough match to call, says Dan Kaufman. I think, like the polls have come in, 61% of you guys have said that this is likely to go the way of Alex Kurdecha. Alex Kurdecha. And I agree with you. I agree. He is the favorite, but I do see problems. I do see problems for him. I do see moments where he is going to find difficulty finishing Dave Chafee. And I do think that Dave Chafee, if he plays his cards right, can win. I really do. Dave Chafee has all of the right strengths to get the job done. He just needs to play his cards right. I think there is a slight larger margin of error for Alex Kurdecha. And because of that, he should be the favorite. And 62% of you guys agree that Alex Kurdecha will win this match. Dave Chafee, of course, 38%. It is a best of 5 round match. Dave probably looks better in the early rounds. Rounds 1 and 2 are when Dave is going to probably be at his best. But we'll see. All right, having a look more at your comments now. Let's see what you guys are getting up to in these comment section. Right, the hand says, I think Dave has leveled out and Alex is still rising. I totally agree. All right. Davis, strap match. We talked about that one. Seraphim says, I have nothing against Dave, but I'm kind of hoping Alex smashes him because if he doesn't, it will mean Alex doesn't have a chance against Levan. Yeah, it is. If Dave Chafee puts up a solid fight here against Kurdecha, then yes, it does highlight exactly how badass Levan is. But we're going to see Levan in action not too far away. King of the Table 4 against Devin Larratt will be a fantastic. Oh my good. I don't think there'll be more people tuning in to any other match in existence than that one. But anyway, Dave is more seasoned. He'll run through him, says Joey S. And that is one of the interesting ones about Dave Chafee. He is more seasoned. He does have more stiffness through the elbow. He does have more integrity in his connective tissue in the wrist. If Dave Chafee maintains fundamental position, he will win. I agree with that. Alex Kurdecha must bust back the wrist of Dave Chafee in order to get the victory. And he must do it significantly, and then he still must finish the job. Because Alex Kurdecha, as we mentioned earlier, does have historical problems finishing matches even after he has taken the risk. I'm talking about Krasimir Kostadinov and Kirigalia Ongarbayev. He struggled to do that. He actually lost the matches to those guys despite taking control of the hand and wrist. Now, obviously, Kurdecha has moved on since then, but Dave is a much more significant opponent. The downside on Dave is he's not particularly technical. If Dave's wrist goes back, there's not a good track record of Dave technically digging a match back from there. But because Kurdecha's not particularly good at finishing from there, there's a chance that Dave might be able to dig himself out. But even still, there's questions that still need to be answered, and the integrity is interesting through the elbow of Kurdecha. It's not the same as it is for Dave Chafee. All right. Let's have a look. What else we got? Okay. Yeah, this match originally, Seraphim says it was supposed to be Alex versus Leletin. It was, of course, but then all the stuff, the drama with anything Russian right now has ruled that out, and Dave Chafee has stepped in. Yep. Okay. I hope Alex has found his pronated side pressure issue, or he's fixed his pronated side pressure issue, says Keyless123. How do you strengthen your Devil Raper? That's Ryan. How do you strengthen elbow integrity overall? And that's one of the things. Elbow integrity overall just comes in time and time under attention. And it's got to be the correct time under attention. If you are someone who is a hand control based puller, and you're just constantly taking control of the hand and wrist and letting people effectively pin themselves, or you're disengaging your opponent's power, then you don't develop the elbow. And the problem is, if you and this is I can speak of reflecting on my own journey, for instance. When you start out as an arm wrestling, you get all this success with your hand and wrist. You think that's the be all and end all. You think hand. It's all about hand. And then you meet someone who has an elbow developed. And even if you take control of their hand, you still lose because their elbow is superior to yours, and you can't finish. Your pronated side pressure is inferior to that of their supinated elbow side pressure. And that highlights to you a problem. And that is a problem that Kurdecha has experienced multiple times. And we're curious, has he focused on that enough to fix it? Now, the ways to fix it is either to arm wrestle with inner hook and use that side pressure and control center and worry less about taking someone's wrist and more about just controlling their pronator, driving in. And then the same thing when you think about Todd Hutchins and his style of training, it's getting on the table with a pulley or with a spring and driving sideways whilst keeping your hand and wrist inside the line of your elbow. Doing so like that is going to start to condition the elbow, and it's going to do a lot. Alex Kurdecha is a big human. He's had all his success with high pronated back pressure and hand control. He hasn't had to spend a lot of time in the trenches of side pressure. So he will not have enough side pressure to beat Dave Chafee if they are arm on arm. He won't. Dave's level of conditioning through the elbow is going to be far superior, given that's his style of arm wrestling and has been for a long time. But the question is Dave's wrist back side pressure bigger and better than Alex's pronated side pressure? That's an interesting question. And that, I think, we might find. Yeah. Marcus Thompson says, buy the quadratic arm. Yeah, look, that's I personally love it. I love training with springs, but there are many ways to skin a cat in that respect. Guys, we are 5 minutes away now from the promised time where I would end this one, because I believe Uncle John and Aussie Arm Wrestler are 5 minutes away. So I'm going to stick around for no more than another 5 minutes, guys. Let me know if you have any questions, queries. Now's the chance. I'm going to just keep my eyes purely on the comment section. But guys, make sure you head over to Aussie Arm Wrestlers and Uncle John's live stream, which will be kicking off in about 5 minutes' time. Yes, it will be ready. Bang time, says Marcus Thompson. No doubt will be entertaining. I'll probably be heading over there myself to catch up and hear what those gentlemen have to say. But yeah, guys, this match is going to be awesome. It's going to be the star of the show. There's plenty to come. King of the Table 3 this weekend. Like I said, I'm going to be calling the event if you want my commentary and you want to hang out and talk about everything as it all unfolds. Book yourself in right here and we will have a lot of fun. Good to catch you live, Ryan. Can't wait for King of the Table 3 since Noble 12. Thank you, brother. Schoolboy voice, Bo and Andy gone fishing. Ask the question. You know I'd love it. I saw what Herman Stevens did against Schoolboy. There were lanes. That I think I could work with, but much respect to Schoolboy. Of course, the man is moving onwards and upwards at a rapid rate. He's killing it. Marcus Thompson says, great show, Ryan. Thank you very much, brother. All right, guys, well, I won't leave that one here. Once again, thank you all. Please hit the like button before you go and subscribe if you haven't already. My name is Ryan Blue Bowen, and I will see you in the chat over at the Uncle John and Aussie Arm Wrestler live stream. All right, guys, take care.